All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is March 30th, 2022. You're now watching Real Talk with Ronnie live. Welcome back to our Wednesday edition. We haven't had a Wednesday show in a few weeks because I've been busy with the election, right? The past few Wednesdays, we've had an event going on, but I'm very happy to report that I was able to win the Bergen County Republican Convention, right? A few weeks back. So now I'm the official endorsed candidate of the Bergen County Republican organization here in Bergen County for the seat which I'm seeking, the commissioner seat, which was the same seat that I sought after last year. I lost by 2.5 points last year, but it's okay because we're gonna finish this year what we started last year. So I'm very happy and proud that I was able to win the convention, and that this time around I will be representing the Bergen County Republican Party um, to hopefully win back this seat this year. All right, on our show tonight, and as you might have noticed, we are starting a little bit late today. We're starting at 10 p.m., but it's okay, right? It's kind of like a late night feel. But anyway, our show tonight is very special. But before we get to our show, I would like to commemorate this day. I'm not sure if you know, but this day, March 30th, is actually an anniversary for, I would venture to say, a very pivotal time in our nation's history, right? And also for me personally, it has very, very special meaning. Today, March 30th, it marks the, I guess, the 41st anniversary of the day that President Ronald Reagan was shot. So on March 30th of 1981, President Ronald Reagan was shot. There was an assassination attempt on President on Reagan's life, and he was shot. Luckily, he survived, and I believe the attempt to take his life was a real turning point in his presidency, right? Because up until then, many of the Democrats they had taken him as like a joke president, right? Former actor, right? What does he know about governing a country? Even though Ronald Reagan at that point in time had been a pretty big name in politics, right? He had served 2 terms as governor of California. He was, very vocal when it came to politics. And when he ran for president in 1980, that was actually his third attempt at the highest office of our land, right? So when he finally won in 1980, he won by a huge landslide. But even then, a lot of the liberals didn't really take him too seriously, right? But when he was shot this day 41 years ago, I think it changed all that, right? The nation got to see a different side of the president, right? He was graceful, he was funny, he was calm, under a circumstance in which most people would be, scared, right? But he, during that moment of crisis, he showed his true grit, he showed his leadership, and the nation, left and right, rallied around the president to pray that he would, that he would recover, and and he did, right? He recovered, and he escaped the assassin's bullet. Well, not like physically, because he actually did get shot, but he was able to come out of that alive. And I think some say that he broke the curse, right? Because up until then, every president that was elected on a year that ended with a zero either died in office or was killed, right? And I think that goes back to I want to say like 1990 or 1890, right? I believe 1890 was when that first happened. No, I believe it was actually even earlier, right? I think if you look back at to the history books, I think it was I want to say William Henry Harrison, right? Who was first assassinated. I believe that was like in 1880, right? And then in 1900, it was McKinley. 1920, I think it was Harding. 1940, FDR died in office. 1960, it was Kennedy, right? And then 1980, Reagan, he kind of bucked that trend. So he broke that curse. And then, since then, luckily, no president has died in office, right? So, but anyway, today marks a special day. And it's special for me because, as you guys might know, I was named after Ronald Reagan. So my namesake, he was shot today, 41 years ago, and then he went on to live and become one of our greatest presidents in our nation's history. Anywho, on our show today, we have a very special guest. So typically on our show, we usually deal with local politics, right? With state politics, with Jersey politics. We talk to other candidates from other states also. So now we've gone like, in a national way. But today we're actually delving into international politics, international waters. On our show today, we welcome Dr. Dennis Peng. Dennis Peng is he hails from Taiwan, same place as my parents. My parents both came from Taiwan in 1980, right? When they came to the States. I was born here in 81. But anyway, both my parents and Dennis Peng, they share the commonality in that they come from Taiwan. Dennis Peng was a very, very big name in Taiwan, and he still is. He was a very famous TV commentator, personality, journalist, and the host of his primetime television show on Formosa TV in Taiwan, which is one of the largest, if not the largest, television stations in Taiwan for many, many years, right? I say he was like the Walter Cronkite of Taiwan, right? But he was like he was on TV every single night. He was talking about news and about politics, kind of like a Peter Jennings or like a Dan Rather, like Bill Maher, any one of those guys, right? So he was very, very popular in Taiwan. And all that started to change around 2019, okay? And let me tell you why. In 2019, um, the president of Taiwan, President Tsai, which, by the way, she is the first female president of Taiwan. But anyway, she was up for reelection, I want to say in 2020, right? And around that time, a story popped up about how um, potentially her thesis was never found, and perhaps she never wrote one. Because the thing with President Tsai is that she earned her PhD from LSE, London School of Economics, one of the most prestigious schools in the world, right? And we all know that in order to be awarded the doctorate degree, one must also produce a thesis, write a dissertation, right? That is standard protocol. Anyone who's ever gotten a degree on the doctor level needs to write a thesis. I had to, do the same thing when I did my PhD. I was awarded my PhD in 2020 in international law, and when I did that, I also had to write a thesis. Right, my thesis is like 400 pages long, and it was an arduous, very, very strenuous and difficult task. Right, but I got it done, and you have to go through a whole process where the thesis is sent out to 5 different professors from different universities. You don't know who they are, right? They have to read your thesis, and then they have to all decide that they want to pass it, right? But anyway, for every school, there's a different process. So the point is, the to get a PhD is a very, very difficult thing to do. A lot of people work very, very hard for many, many years, and then end up not getting their PhDs because their dissertation could not pass. So anyway, the dissertation is not something to be taken lightly. So the story goes that President Tsai uh, never wrote her dissertation because upon inspection from other people, from other journalists around this time, a thesis from the London School of Economics for President Tsai was never recovered, right? And I believe she had graduated back in the 80s. So this was the scandal that was going on in 2019, and this was the news that my guest, Dennis Peng, was reporting on extensively during that time period. So, afterwards, his show on Formosa TV was canceled, and subsequently, he moved to the US and settled in California. Now, one very, interesting thing about Dennis Peng is that, in 2019, after this story broke, after he kept on talking about it, the president of Taiwan sued him, and he was charged with 1 degree of libel against the sitting president. So I believe Dennis Peng is unique in history in that he currently remains to be the first and only person to be sued by a sitting Taiwanese president. So currently he is in California as a fugitive, right? Because if he were to ever go back to Taiwan, he would be arrested on the spot. And I believe he faces many years in prison. I believe like from 2 to 5 years. But since he's been in the US from 2019 on, he started his own show on YouTube called True Voice of Taiwan. Now, this show is something that he hosts and broadcasts live every single day from his YouTube channel. He has amassed quite a following. He has around 300,000 people who follow him. And we were very happy to get him on our show so we can hear his story. So, without further ado, let me show you my interview with Dennis Peng.
Maybe you taste different. Hold up, babe.
All right, guys. Good evening. Welcome back to Real Talk with Ronnie. So today we have a very, very special guest. Typically on our show, we talk about, statewide issues and national issues that affect us here. But today, for the first time ever, we're going to be delving into international waters and talking about an international issue that recently has been very, very big and controversial in Taiwan, in China. So today on our show, we welcome Dr. Dennis Peng. Dr. Dennis Peng is a professor. He's also a TV personality. I would say he was probably the equivalent of like a Walter Cronkite in Taiwan. He had his own talk show host. He was a talk show host. He had his political talk show in Taiwan on Formosa Television, which is the biggest station in Taiwan for many, many years. Currently, he is the host of True Voice of Taiwan. He's got over 300,000 followers. He's super popular, and we're very excited and very honored to have him on our show today. So, Dr. Dennis Peng, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Dr. Lin.
Sure. Okay, so Dr. Dennis Peng, we share a similar background, right? My parents are also from Taiwan. Actually, my mom is a big fan of yours. She says you are very handsome and have a beautiful voice. So, so she wanted to make sure that I gave you that message.
Oh, thank you. Say hi to your mom and dad, and I'm about your mom and dad's age, so I'm your uncle too.
Yeah. So, Uncle Peng.
Yeah, Uncle Peng.
Anyway, but Dr. Peng, why don't you give us a little background, give our viewers a little background about yourself? Because for a lot of my viewers, this is probably the first time that they are hearing about you.
Okay, my name is Dennis Peng, in Taiwanese name, Peng Wen-zheng. I'm a YouTuber, hosting a political show called True Voice of Taiwan. In Chinese, it's 正经关不了. And this talk show aims to deliver a true voice, comments, or facts, if possible, without commercial or political pressures. I have been a journalism professor at the graduate school of journalism at Taiwan University for 20 years. I earned my journalism PhD from the University of Wisconsin. What I love very much, my second hometown, Madison, Wisconsin, in 1995. And I've been living in Taipei, Taiwan, my whole life until last June. A big life experience occurred. My whole family, my wife, 3 kids, and a Formosan hunting dog, Pico. We together moved to Bay Area.
Okay. And this was when? This was in 2019?
I moved here last June, but the whole story happened in 2019.
Okay. All right. So, Dr. Peng, you are a professor. You were a host in Taiwan, a very big media star. So, can you please tell us what has been the issue, the controversy that has essentially almost forced you out of Taiwan, relocate in the US, and broadcast your show from YouTube here? What exactly happened?
Okay. Well, it's a big story. I try to make a long story short.
Okay.
I once read a 2015 editorial in in a news, wherein the author claimed that they couldn't locate Taiwan president candidate at that time, now become president, Miss Tsai Ing-wen's PhD dissertation. They call it thesis in United Kingdoms. We Americans call that dissertation. Okay,
Right.
They cannot locate it in any library in the world. At that time, back to 2015, I didn't even pay attention on this news. I thought it's again a fake news in presidential campaign. At that time, 2016, I was a big fan or supporter of to the President Tsai Ing-wen. 4 years later, in 2019, this topic was heated again during the presidential campaign. My colleague, also my college professor, Professor Ho, she is the emeritus law professor at Taiwan University, and she held a press conference during June 2019. She accused President Tsai's degree fraud scandal. At that time, I began looking into Tsai Ing-wen's doctoral thesis on my primetime TV talk show in Taiwan. The sensitive topic widespread and gets some attention in the lead up to Taiwan's 2020 presidential election. After a couple of weeks, I was sued on September 23rd, 2019, which was 3 years ago, by Miss Tsai Ing-wen. At that time, she's president.
So you were sued by the president of Taiwan.
Yes.
And I believe that you've been since charged with a degree of libel, right?
Yes.
Against the president of Taiwan, which effectively makes you sort of like a fugitive, right? If you go back to Taiwan at the airport, they will arrest you on the spot, right?
Yes. Okay. That day, I would never forget. It was September 23rd, 2019. I sued by Tsai Ing-wen personally for slander criminal charge. The Taiwanese prosecutor later issued a criminal arrest warrant and a statute of limitation for 13 years during my visiting children in the United States on November 19th last year.
Okay.
And
so just to be clear, the statute of limitations for charging you is 13 years. So that means unless you go back to Taiwan and get arrested, you have to stay out of the country until the year 2031?
2035,
right? Yeah, 2035.
Yeah. Okay. And I might face 2 years to 5 years prison time if I proved guilty. This is the first time ever I become the first person in Taiwan's history to be sued by a sitting president. Not only this, I received much harassment for my work on this story. And during audits, receiving death threats and being followed. I get used to it.
Right. Now, so since that happened, you moved to the US, right? You're in the Bay Area now. Do you find that you're still being followed now?
I'm not quite sure, but I once received a message telling me something and keep on trying 3 times. And, I get used to it.
Now, back to the issue of this dissertation. Okay, so for all the viewers that are tuning in now, quick recap, right? So Professor Dang is a TV host, is a media personality, a well-respected one, right? I mean, you were like the Walter Cronkite of like Taiwan TV. And then you stumbled upon a story, right, that alleged that the president of Taiwan did not legitimately receive her doctoral degree from the London School of Economics. And during your primetime show in Taiwan, you kept on talking about this. And because of this issue, I believe the president of Taiwan, right, they did not renew the license for the TV show, right? And then you were subsequently like canceled, right? Or I think you actually left, and then you moved to the US, right?
Mm-hmm.
Since you've been in the US, you've started your own show on like YouTube, right? We have
Yes.
300,000 followers, but then you were charged, right? You've been charged with one charge of libel against the
Yes.
president. So if you were to ever go back to Taiwan, you would be arrested.
Yes.
Okay, so you're a respected, journalist. You've studied journalism. You're a PhD in journalism. So, what was it about this story?
Okay.
Because you said that when you first heard the story back in 2015, 2016, you even thought it was like fake news, right?
Right.
So, why did you all of a sudden decide to kind of look into it more? And what was it about this story? Like, what made you finally believe the story?
Okay. Thank you. I think it is common sense that without a qualified doctoral thesis, what we call dissertation, a PhD candidate would not be awarded a doctoral degree. The President Tsai Ing-wen says she received her PhD from the London School of Economics and Political Science in 1984. However, nobody could ever locate her doctoral thesis before 2019. President Tsai continues to claim to the public that she earned a 1.5 PhD degree. I'm not joking. Mm-hmm. She claimed that she earned 1.5 PhD degree from LSE in 2 years at her age of 27. Tsai's exaggerated statement that due to her excellent achievement in international trade field, she's awarded an additional 0.5 PhD degree.
Okay.
Such ridiculous statement not only just on her public speech, but also in her autobiography. This also attracted the attention of some scholars, including me, mm-hmm. to read her doctoral thesis to discover Tsai's 38 years of academic fraud. Not only me, but also University of North Carolina Charlotte Business School professor Huan Ling. He field investigated this scandal and published a 50-page report suggesting that Tsai Ing-wen never received a PhD. One key piece of evidence is the inconsistency by the University of London's library, and that it never received a copy of Tsai Ing-wen's dissertation. And also 107 students received doctoral degree from LSE in 1984. Mm-hmm. The same year that Tsai Ing-wen says she graduated from LSE. But Tsai's dissertation is never been found in the library.
Okay.
The other, there is someone also missing dissertation belong to a student that committed plagiarism. So when presented to with this evidence, Tsai Ing-wen responded by suing 3 scholars for defamation. Me, University of North Carolina Professor Ling, and Emeritus Law Professor He Defen, who is also Tsai Ing-wen's professor at Taiwan University. Since then, my show, True Voice of Taiwan, kept investigating, uncovering, and commenting on the scandal every single day until now. Okay.
Now I got a few questions, a few follow-ups, right? So you mentioned that President Tsai, she was awarded her PhD in 1984 from LSE with 100, and during that year 107 students graduated. Now her thesis at that point was not found. Were the theses of the other 106 students found?
Yes, everybody.
Okay.
Everyone, including Dr. Ling. Every doctor's thesis could be found, could be purchased, could be downloaded, could be cited, could be read.
Okay.
Only.
Now I'm gonna play, devil's advocate for like a second, right? this was back in 1984, right? Before
Yes.
the age of internet, right? Before the computer systems were, advanced, before the cloud computing, where it was easier to store stuff, to save stuff. So couldn't it just be possible that perhaps President Tsai's dissertation was kind of lost during that time and just never saved?
Okay. I also went to London School of Economics and University of London on October 16th, 2019.
Okay.
I searched all libraries and interviewed most of the librarians and some of the scholars. They told me that the so-called thesis of Taiwan never received, not missing. In the database, they have the first doctoral thesis back to 1951. They all well kept. They all have an electronic, we call the microfilms. Although at the time probably doesn't have the internet.
Right.
They had internet, but not popular. But they kept that well kept in every detail. I also checked all the other dissertations at the same year, same school, the law school. They all well kept and very neat, and also very high quality dissertation. Okay. I interviewed the librarians and scholars. They told me they searched all around the libraries, including international archives, libraries, through the internet system. They say that thesis never received. I also asked the librarian, is it possible missing? I videotape all these processes, and I also submitted these evidences to the British Tribunal Court. They are already in the court. Okay. They told me that it's never received. And actually, this very mysterious so-called thesis never received since 1983. But now we can find it until 2019. A different format, different layout, so-called personal copy of Tsai Ing-wen's thesis was sent to LSE libraries. But it is not a thesis. It's just a note.
So, since you started this investigation in 2019, then all of a sudden, a thesis did appear at LSE in 2019. When in 2019 did this new thesis, come in?
Okay. An Oxford PhD scholar, Dr. Alex Xu Yongtai, he published an article in the Chinese language US-based newspaper World Journal, 世界日报, on September 18, 2019. In the article, he shared his thoughts about Tsai Ing-wen's publicized dissertation, because Tsai Ing-wen's this so-called personal copy of her dissertation was sent to the LSE Women's Library on June 28th, 2019, which is 35 years after her graduation. Okay, so there are 3 scholars applied and to check that dissertation on between July and October of 2019. Okay, the Dr. Alex Xu, he shared his thoughts about Tsai Ing-wen's publicized dissertation. Alex raised several questions regarding the thesis. First, the thesis, supposedly written in 1983, was rather unpolished overall. Not only that, but the way the thesis was formatted indicated it was composed using technology available only after 1984. Only there were a lot of handwritten corrections and some whiteouts. The thesis also used American spelling rather than British spelling, which is unusual for the London School of Economics and Political Science at that time. The total so-called thesis ended up with more than 500 spelling and typo errors.
So this new thesis that came in, how long was it? How many pages?
400 pages, but
Okay.
there were Chinese, there were different mixed language in that dissertation. Do you believe that? They wrote some comments and some explanations why her thesis was missing in both English and Chinese. Have you ever read a dissertation with some personal opinions and notes? It's ridiculous.
Okay. So this thesis comes in, but you're not satisfied with this thesis, right? You
Yes,
think that perhaps this
totally not.
thesis is maybe doctored or plagiarized, but anyway, it's something that is not a real thing, right? So let me ask you. You mentioned that you, along with two other professors, I think Professor Ho and Professor Lin, really pressed this issue. The president of Taiwan has sued all three of you, right? But however, I think only you were, charged with
Yep.
a charge of libel, while Professors Ho and Professor Lin were not. Now, why is that?
I have no idea. Probably I make more effort.
Okay.
Let me put it this way. I guess because the Professor Lin is American citizen,
Okay.
and Professor Ho is older than me, so I'm kind of small potato. So it's easy to swallow.
Okay, so I guess you're the sacrificial lamb. So how was your relationship with President Tsai prior to this whole scandal? Like, were you guys friendly? Like, did you
No,
did you ever meet her?
okay, no, I didn't know her.
Okay.
I mean, I only met her once. That back to 2012, I think. She wanted to persuade me to represent her party. I wasn't
Okay.
a DPP party members. She wanted
Right.
to persuade me to run for a city mayor.
Okay. The city
So
mayor of what, Taipei or?
of Hsinchu, which is
Okay.
my hometown.
Okay.
And she tried to persuade me, and in a very formal setting, and asked me to, to represent DPP to run for the Hsinchu, a technology city in Taiwan, and I refused. I think I'm an reporter. I'm a newsman.
Right.
I don't believe. I don't. Also, I don't belong to politics. That's the only time we met. But I'm honest. I'm a big supporter. I used to be a big supporter of DPP.
Mm-hmm.
I think Taiwan cannot has only one party.
Right.
So I, for a long time of dictatorship of Taiwan's old, politics. Since I was a college student, I support the opposition party for which
the KMT, the Kuomintang?
the ruling party is KMT.
Right.
But I continuously support the opposition party, which is DPP, which is the President Tsai's party, because I don't think Taiwan should have only one party. Should be check and balance. But not until DPP become ruling party, I found they are probably even more corruption.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I was the host of the, I think it's Guoyan, is inauguration party or inauguration dinner of the
the inaugural like dinner ball.
Yeah, right, of the President Tsai's presidency.
Okay.
Back to 2016. So we used to have a not close relationship, but rather friendly.
Right. Well, I think if you were the host of her inaugural dinner party, right after she won the presidency, and you were the host of that party, I think that's a pretty big honor, right, and a pretty big job. So I think she must have thought highly of you, right?
Well, I don't know.
All right. Now, since you've been reporting on this scandal, on this piece of news, have you had any contact with President Tsai, or from people from her party or from her government?
No.
No.
I kind of refused to have any personal contact or personal relationship with the politicians.
Right.
I think that's my career. That's my training as a journalist.
Hmm.
I try to keep distance
Right.
with the politicians, and I don't know whether President Tsai has attempt to talk to me or deliver some message, but I don't think so. I think she sued me.
Right.
Should be very angry with me.
Okay. Now, what are your immediate plans now in terms of fighting this lawsuit and trying to, get this squared away? Or are you just going to wait until the statute of, limitations finishes in 2035 and then visit Taiwan again? Like, what are you going to do?
Well, I wouldn't that pessimistic. In the Bible says, "For there is nothing covered that shall not be revealed,
Mm-hmm.
neither hide that shall not be known." I think this scandal will soon be uncovered. As a journalist, as a Christian, I think I speak only the truth. I wouldn't compromise, and I wouldn't stop.
Okay. Now, are there other journalists currently in Taiwan that are talking about this news, about this dissertation news, or has it largely been silenced and no one's talked about it?
Okay. I can say that only one or two news outlets on the internet
Mm-hmm.
dare to discuss this issue. Why only on internet? Because the internet, to some extent, doesn't belong to the domain of control of the government. Otherwise, the other news outlet that was silent, and I think to some extent scary because I was sued. So now getting more and more media, like probably once a week, there's some stories about this scandal's follow up, getting more and more media talk about this issue. And I think for these years, I'm so sad that the Chinese government, I should say, President Tsai used taxpayers' money to some extent bribe and also control the media, so that nothing negative about her would be aired.
Right.
The only exception is CTI TV News, because the owner was ranked as the wealthiest person in Taiwan, which allowed him to fight against Tsai. However, CTI TV News was shut down by Taiwan National Communication Commission, NCC, in November 2020. After its news channel was shut down, CTI TV moved to YouTube. Mm-hmm. And very soon, over 2.7 million of the Taiwan population download its app with YouTube. Also, a lot of Taiwan news media kind of silent, and
Well, I think what's happening in Taiwan is actually very prevalent here in the States too, right? We see that a lot of the the outlets here are very silent when it comes to President Joe Biden and some of his policies, right? They're very seldom do they criticize him, right? But I think we saw the opposite when President Trump, was in power. All the media personalities and outlets and everyone was just ganging up on President Trump. So I think in both places,
human nature.
Yeah, there are these there are these similarities where the media sort of takes sides, right? But so how has this entire ordeal, how has it affected your family? Like, do they like the fact that they had to basically relocate to California? I mean, did they wish that they could go back to Taiwan? I mean, like this must affect them too, right?
Right. My daughter, I didn't talk much to my daughter because my daughter is I have one 9-year-old daughter
Okay.
and 15, 17 years son and daughter.
Wow.
And for this tough situation, I didn't talk much, but
Right.
they can Google.
Right.
So when first time I remember that that was 2 years ago when my 15 years old daughter Isabella read the news that I was sued by the sitting president. She asked me through the phone, "Why, Dad? Why the president sued you?"
Right.
She cried for more than 3 minutes.
Wow.
Big cry. I don't know how to explain to her.
Right.
I don't know how to make the long story short because it's really a long story.
Right.
I don't know how to tell her I don't know how to let her understand the complicated politician.
Okay.
But I only tell her that your dad doing the right thing. This is what we call the freedom of press,
Right.
freedom of speech. That's what we call the journalist should check and balance.
Mm-hmm.
She limited the government's power by telling the truth, fearless. And I don't know how to translate it to English, but I told him a slang in Chinese. I told her that the president 不可告人，所以告人. That's what I told her. Meaning that the president did something wrong and didn't tell the world. So she tried to cover it by suing me. And my daughter laughed and suddenly relieved.
Okay.
And I think they're getting better because they know a lot of relatives, friends told them, your parents did the righteous thing. I think they know. Sooner or later, they will know.
Okay. Now, what do you say to some people who, maybe are loyal to the president, right? What do you say to attacks by them that perhaps, these allegations that you brought up are politically motivated since they came up in 2019, which is close to the presidential, election year, right? What do you say to critics that criticize you of maybe having a political motive behind this story?
I think you can check my background and look back to my background. I have spent 20 years academia at Graduate Institute of Journalism in Taiwan University.
Right.
I have refused a lot of opportunities to be government higher official, to be rented for mayors or even bribe for shut up. I refused all because I am a journalist, I'm a reporter. I just want to tell my audiences what is true. That's all, period.
Okay. So on your show, though, True Voice of Taiwan, which airs every single day on YouTube, you talked about this issue, right? Every single day since like last year, right? So you've told the story, right? What is the use in your mind of talking about it every single day? Like, what are you trying to achieve? Because now this story is out there, right? So people know about it. So what are you trying to achieve now?
Okay, I think it's rather simple. If you were sued, I think you were doing something as I did. And also, as I'm a 20 years journalism professor,
right?
What I have taught to my students in the classroom, what am I doing here? So I
Mhm.
think rather simple. I just want to uncover, I mean, the whole scandal. I just want the
Right.
truth. I don't bother me the politics or political interest or what the stability of the society of the whole nation. That's not my business.
Right.
My responsibility as a journalist is keep telling the truth.
Okay.
That rather simple.
Okay. Now, you're currently still a adjunct professor at National Taiwan University, right?
Yes, I am.
Now, do you find that interesting? Because, given the fact that
Ever,
yeah,
ever
because
fugitive professor.
right, and that must mean that you have a lot of students who come to watch you, right? Just because of the fact that you're a fugitive, right? But what I find interesting is that National Taiwan University is the best university in Taiwan. Is the equivalent of like the Harvard here, right?
Mhm.
And obviously, given the fact that it's a national university, I'm sure the president of Taiwan has a lot of control there too. So I find it interesting that you're still teaching there, and she hasn't really tried to get you like fired there. Why do you think
Okay.
that is?
I don't know. Probably I was soon fired after this program aired.
Okay,
But I don't
cool.
care again.
Right.
Basically, people in Taiwan just silent.
Mhm.
They are not dumb. People, I think, for 99% of politicians in Taiwan, they don't even talk about this issue. They don't even touch this scandal.
Right.
Okay, if it's true, I mean, if it's my fault. I involved the libel suit.
Right.
I think the DPP, the ruling party, legislators, and those congressmen, those politicians, scholars would definitely side with President Tsai, but they they rather silent because they know the truth. It's just they're not to speak up.
Mhm. Now, in your classroom when you teach, do you talk about this issue also?
No, I didn't touch that. But
Okay.
sometimes my students will ask me,
Mhm.
because I teach the new media, kind of nothing touch the politics.
Right. Okay.
But sometimes they all know. They gossip. They know
Right.
what's going on.
Yeah.
Sometimes some student will ask me. If they ask me, I tell them. If they don't ask me, I don't involve politics to the classroom.
Right. So you must be the most famous professor.
Not only professor, I'm
Right.
almost the most famous fugitive in the world. I mean, in Taiwan,
Right.
in
Yeah.
Chinese spoken society.
All right. Now, so has the KMT, have they reached out to you to try to like open their arms and welcome you into their party? Because they have a mutual interest in seeing the story go big too, right? So have you been approached by the KMT to maybe join them or work as a team?
Okay, they once invited me to toss a speech
Right.
last year
Okay.
in front of all the KMT, their the chairperson and those politicians, and talking about the freedom of speech, freedom of press, and some of the what we call Thesis-Gate.
Right. Thesis-Gate.
Yeah, but I try to keep distance with all the politicians, parties, politics. Again, I'm a journalist.
Right.
I'm the forthright. I don't belong to any party.
Right. But I think that's very brave of you, because you are in a situation right now where you're kind of being persecuted by one political party, right? So
Yeah.
one would think that in order to kind of be safer, you would probably seek shelter from the other political party to try to seek their help, right? But you haven't really done that.
No, I didn't. My only shelter is God.
Yeah.
For
Right.
there is nothing covered that
Right.
shall not be revealed, neither hide that shall not be known. I
Okay.
believe
Great.
truth reveals.
Okay. So, Professor Peng, do you have any like final words or message that you would like to send out to perhaps all the people that are watching right now? It doesn't matter if they're from the U.S., from Taiwan, from anywhere else.
Okay. Okay. Um, try not to believe what I'm talking about relating to the thesis scandal. Try to do your own research. You can search by True Voice of Taiwan or Professor Huan H.W.A.N. Lin, who is the business professor at the North Carolina Charlotte. He did a lot of research. You can also check an independent freelancer called Michael Richardson. He has a lot of research and report relating to uncover and cover the whole stories. And just do your own research. You will know. And welcome joining us to investigate this Thesis-Gate.
Okay, great. All right, I want to thank Dr. Dennis Peng for coming on my show tonight. If you want to learn more about Dr. Dennis Peng, you can always watch his show, True Voice of Taiwan. Search for it on YouTube, right? True Voice of Taiwan, and your channel will come up. You have over 300,000 followers, so please do watch it. I believe you broadcast every single day, right? What time?
That's Taiwan time. Is 8 p.m. We also have a English version every 2 weeks. We have a condensed version. That's 30 minutes, aired on the True Voice of Taiwan, and also some American local. I believe in Las Vegas, there are some local channels aired my program too.
Okay, great. Perfect. So anyway, if you want to learn more about Dennis, just go to his YouTube channel and site, and you'll find all the information there on what time you broadcast. And if they want to contact you, I'm sure your contact info is also there too, right?
Right. I have an email. YOUMAYTALK. You may talk at gmail.com.
Okay. You may talk at gmail.com. Great.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Dr. Peng, for joining us. We wish you the best of luck, and we hope that one day you can solve this problem that you have with the government of Taiwan, so that you're no longer a fugitive, right?
Soon.
Yeah.
Coming up. Thank you, right. Dr. Lin.
Okay, thank you, sir, and we'll catch up with you soon. And we hope the next time we catch up with you, you're no longer an international fugitive.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, my friends.
And God bless. Bye-bye.
God bless. Thank you.
Maybe you taste different. Hold up, baby.
All right. What an interview with Dr. Dennis Peng. I'm not sure if you kind of saw this, but after doing the interview, while doing the interview, I noticed a lot of similarities between, the media here in the US and in Taiwan, and a lot of the same tactics done by the government that's in charge in both countries, right? There's a bit of censorship, right? A bit of cancel culture in both places. Dr. Dennis Peng was essentially canceled in Taiwan for speaking out against the Taiwanese president. Well, not even just speaking out against her, right? He was just reporting on news that was unflattering towards her. And his show was canceled, right? The television did not receive a renewal for their license, and it was essentially canceled, which is why he had to come to the U.S. And after coming to the U.S., he was charged by the government of Taiwan for libel against the president. First and only person in the history of Taiwan to be charged and sued by a sitting president. And he's, for all intents and purposes, a fugitive here in the U.S. And, if he were to ever go back to Taiwan, he would be arrested on the spot and very possibly put in prison for multiple years. So, yeah, I see similarities between the plight that has happened to Dr. Peng and what's happening now in the U.S. It reminds me of the Hunter Biden story, right? When it was first reported on by the New York Post, every single media outlet said it was fake news, right? They discredited the New York Post for reporting on it. New York Post, I believe, was banned from Twitter. The story could not be seen, right, on Twitter or on Facebook. And lo and behold, 500 some days later, the New York Times comes out and says, "Oh, you know what? It just so happens that that story might actually be true, right? The laptop is real. It's not Russian disinformation." And then, but still, a lot of these outlets are not talking about it, like CNN, MSNBC. No one's talking about it really. They're just hoping that the story is just gonna, go away. But it's still there and it's real, right? So here in this country, if you speak out against the government, right? Well, depending on which party, right? You get canceled, you get censored, and in some cases, you get prosecuted, which is very, very similar to what's happening to Dr. Dennis Peng. Anyway, we thank him for joining us. You can contact him, right, via his email. You may talk at gmail.com. You may talk at gmail.com. His show, True Voice of Taiwan, has over 3,000 followers on YouTube. You can search for it there, True Voice of Taiwan. All right. Well, that's it for today. Oh, yeah. Another big news that's been circulating these days. Well, it's not really news, right? It's not newsworthy. It's just kind of scandalous. It's the fact that, Will Smith smacked the crap out of Chris Rock during the Oscars because he allegedly made a joke that was offensive towards his wife, which is funny because, I watched this clip. Immediately after Chris Rock said that joke, Will Smith laughed. But it wasn't until he saw the reaction of his wife that he, suddenly became angered and ran up on stage and smacked Chris Rock. I don't know. But the left are praising Will Smith for being like this hero, right? Which is ironic because isn't that the toxic masculinity that the left keeps, raging against? So when someone from the left does it, it's it's so awesome. He's like a hero. But if someone were on the right, on someone who is conservative did that, then they would be labeled a bigot, a racist, violent, white supremacist, whatever name they can call you, right? So, but anyway, I thought that was disgusting. I thought that Chris Rock was just doing his job. It was a joke, right? He said that his wife looked like G.I. Jane. I mean, I don't know if he was referencing the fact that she has alopecia. If he was, I can sympathize, right? Given the fact that me and Jada sort of had the same, we have the same hairstyle, but I don't think it was meant to be a mean-spirited joke, right? It was just in good nature. And Chris Rock is a comedian. That's what they do. They roast people. I mean, if that's the new standard, if you piss off someone in the audience, then they could just come up and punch the comedian or the host, then who the hell's going to ever want to do that job, right? But I think that's just another trend that we see in today's cancel ultra woke culture, right? If you say something that I don't like, we'll cancel you. In that situation, it was a live telecast, so they couldn't cancel Chris Rock. So Will Smith did the next best thing. He resorted to violence. And the left seems to condone that, Believe what I believe in. If not, we will hit you. So that's not what this country is about. But sadly, it seems to be moving towards that way under, the direction of liberals, right? The ultra left. But that's not what this country was founded upon. So here's to hoping that sanity is restored in our country soon. And I think that's going to start this year when Republicans take over the House and the Senate, when I win my election for commissioner here in Bergen County and other races, right? So last year in New Jersey, we saw a red wave. This year, I think we're going to see a red tsunami. And of course, in 2024, we hope to have a new president, or, we actually hope to have a president, someone who's in charge, someone who the world will respect and fear and look up to. because right now that's certainly not the case, as is very evident in what's happening in Russia, right? And all over. So that's our show for today. I know it's a little bit later than usual, but I don't know about you. I kind of like this late night format, right? I'm like a night owl, so this time range for me is actually perfect. And this coming Friday, our new show with my good friend Diana Cerejo premieres. Real Matters. It premieres this Friday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So please check it out if you are free, right? Or you can catch the replay. So Real Matters premiering this Friday at 5:30 p.m. And of course, my inaugural show on AM 970 premieres this Sunday on AM 970 The Answer on Salem Media Group. So please tune in from 8 to 9 p.m. It will air exactly the same time as my Sunday show on Facebook Live, on Rumble, on Getter. I still may put it on YouTube. We will see, right? For tonight's show, I was going to stream it on YouTube, but then I wasn't sure, what exactly YouTube considers misinformation, right? Because for all you know, they could say that, oh, this information about the president of Taiwan's dissertation is considered disinformation. As such, you are banned again. And I think I'm on my second strike. If I get one more strike on YouTube, then my channel is banned forever. So I'm very hesitant to post anything on YouTube now, because who knows what they consider disinformation. But anyway, so we will see. So I'll see you guys this Sunday on my show. And please tune in on Salem Radio, AM 970, The Answer, 8 to 9 p.m. Sundays, every Sunday, same time as this show, right? And, I'm on Getter. I'm on YouTube. If you're not on there, please get it, right? This is where you can find me on Rumble, rumble.com/Real Talk with Ronnie. And you can find me on Getter via my handle at Ronald Joseph Lin. This Sunday on my show, I have two very, very big guests. The first guest is Ryan Kelly, GOP candidate for governor in the great state of Michigan. Our second guest is our great friend, the 2021 nominee for governor of New Jersey, Jack Ciattarelli, right? He's going to be on our show this coming Sunday for our inaugural show on AM 970. And, he's a potential 2025 candidate for governor. He has announced his intent to run in 25, right? He's not a declared candidate yet, but he has announced his intention to run in 2025. So please join us this Sunday for those two big guests. And please spread the word about our show, right? About the radio show and everything that we're doing here, right? We're growing very, very fast. We have a lot of guests that are coming on. If you want to come on too, if you want to be a guest on our show, please, please, please email us at realtalkwithronnie@gmail.com. Okay. realtalkwithronnie@gmail.com. And we'll work out a way to fit you into our schedule. Our calendar right now is completely booked for the next 2 months. So if you want to come on, please email us as soon as possible. All right. So that's it for tonight for this late night Wednesday night show. We hope to bring you another roundtable edition in the coming weeks. All right. But for now, join us this Friday for my new show with Diana, Real Matters. And I will see you this Sunday for the inaugural show of Real Talk with Ronnie on AM 970, The Answer on Salem Media Group. All right, guys, good night. And I love you all. Bye-bye.